Alright, so I'm doing a walkthrough here of how we operate this thing, and just a walk around, and I'm going to highlight what everything is and what everything does here. So as you can see here, pilots are lit. I got that one set a little high right now, but that's okay. And that's a more normal pilot right there. So we got two pilots. We got three burners. There's no pilot on that burner. That's just the boil kettle burner. So I just open up that valve there, light it, let her rip. The match tun burner and the sparge tun burner have pilots. Anyway, aside from that, we got propane. This system is operated on a propane high pressure gas. We got the regulator here. Follow that along, and then it screws into here. I hand tighten that every time I take it on and off, and there's no leaks or anything like that. As for the control panel here, what we have here is we have our main power switch. We have our temperature switch, which we never use that really, that just turns that off and on. We have our ASCO switch, which will turn on the valve. Turn that off if you don't want to use it. Same thing, temperature 2. ASCO 2. Okay. We also have our left pump and right pump. Okay. That's the control panel. What we have here is stainless steel stand, solid. Here's the inside of a keg there, but this is hollow here. So what you can see is it's 2 inch by 2 inch by 0.120 inch thickness. So it's very thick stainless steel. It's heavy. You can stand on top of this thing. It's not going to break. Here's a look at some of the welds here. Not perfect. Not the worst. I'll walk around here, show you some of the welds. I mean, as you can see, they're not the best, but they're not all that bad. Okay. There you go. It is on casters, so you can move this thing around, take it with you. It's got the Blickman Therminator chiller. It's got two March pumps, the left one and the right one. They're not designated. You can use them for anything you want, whether you want to use it for the chiller, whether you want to use it for the boil kettle, whether you want to use it for the sparge tun. It doesn't matter. You can configure these any way you want, because what they are is they're all quick disconnects, stainless steel quick disconnects. Everything is 1/2 inch diameter, inner diameter. We got the ball valves, 3-piece ball valves, so you can control the flow out of the March pumps. Let's see here. We got 3-piece ball valves on each kegel, so you can control the flow coming out. We have analog temperature gauges on each. Okay. So I guess there's 5 3-piece ball valves altogether. The boil kettle right here is an inline, I guess you can call it a thermocouple, I guess, I'm not sure, but you actually put this right here, this temperature probe. So that's 62 degrees coming out of here, is reading right here, which is just metal at this time. Now, if you're recirculating wort, or if you're recirculating water, it'll read that temperature as it comes through and down. So that's where that reads that. Right now this is reading 62. That's because I had warm water in there about an hour ago, so it's still a little warm. I was making another video earlier, but I was recording in the wrong format, so I'm redoing it here. So anyway, I do have about 7 gallons of water in here. Currently it's 72 degrees, and that's reading from this thermistor right here, which goes right into the top. I mean, the sparge tun, I don't have anything set up in line because this is just water, and that's it. So I'm not too worried about the accuracy of the heat. If it says it's 168 coming in from up here, that's fine. But anyway, let's take a look at the inside of each kettle. So this is just sparge ton. That's it. The threads at the bottom there, that's for a dip tube. I realized that I don't even need a dip tube just for sparge water, so I took it out. But you can easily put that in, and that prong sticking out is the analog temperature gauge. There's about 7 gallons of water. This is actually the best looking keg I got out of the 3. Got the lid on top. So it's got the this thing reaches all the way down, hangs out in the water, reads the temperature. Water pumps through there, comes out there, splashes through. Here's the mash tun. The mash tun has the same thing up top. So what I like to do is when I'm mashing, I recirculate during the mash. So I get my temperature coming out of here on this one. And what I end up doing is once I get the sparge water heated up, I take this thermistor, I put it in the mash tun so I get a reading up top as well. I get my analog reading and the inline reading. So I stir every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, and best case scenario is when all 3 of these are equal in temperature. And that would read off of this one. Okay? Now on the inside of this, I actually have a silicone tube there. That way it rests on top of the mash. I don't want too much splashing around in my mash, so that just kind of folds around and lays on top of the mash. So in here I got my false bottom made by Jaybird. It's pretty cold outside, and like I said, I was boiling water earlier for another video, so there's a little steam coming out. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's kind of hazy. Anyway, it's got the dip tube. It's got the Jaybird false bottom, which folds in half. That's it. This is also a pretty clean keg. Okay. Over here we got the boil kettle. On the boil kettle, hang on one second. Let me give this a little wipe. There we go. Boil kettle, same thing. Inline. That's where it comes out. Quick disconnect. 3-piece ball valve. Analog temperature gauge. We got a sight glass on the side. 3 gallons, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's weldless. Everything else is welded on. Up at the top here I have a hot bag and a kettle screen over top of the dip tube down at the bottom. I was using just the kettle screen at the bottom, and I found that when I was making hoppy beers and I was going to use the chiller here at the bottom, the chiller was kind of clogging up a little bit. So I put the hot bag in, and that solved everything. That corrected everything. So, pilots come out of these that little silver tube. There's the pilot. Same thing over here. That silver tube, it's the pilot. Okay, so we'll walk around the back side. Sorry, it's dark out here, so I'll try to shine some light on it with the headlamp here. So like I said, this is the boil kettle right here, boil kettle burner. So when I go to light this, I literally just open this a little bit. You could probably hear the gas hissing. Light it, and then crank it open. Otherwise I keep that shut. Over here, this is the mash tun. So this metal tube is the pilot right here. So at the beginning of each session, I open this up a little bit, light the pilot, let it go. So the pilot is below this right here, which is the ASCO valve. This is the ASCO valve, which literally shuts and opens the piping there, the tubing, so that the pilot stays lit all the time because it's below the ASCO valve. Okay? So I got a couple valves here. I got the pilot valve. This is just a regular valve, which I keep open all the time. And this is the ASCO valve, which is electronic, hooked up to the control panel. Okay. So you can see all the gas plumbing right there. It's all black gas pipe. Everything is sealed properly. No leaks or anything. Okay. Here's the back of the control panel. I put an outlet in there, which has the 2 pumps, 3-prong pumps. Okay. Heavy duty, that red wire, that's the main power switch. So that actually is running in the wall over there. It's heavy duty. I don't know if it's an 18 gauge or 12 gauge or what, but anyway. So that is the that's the quick walk around of the system. So let me just show you how this control panel works here. So the sparge water is currently at 70 degrees because I heated it up a couple hours ago. So if I was to set it to, let's just say 72. Okay. 1 second. So it's at 70. So if I turn it on, it's going to burn until it hits 72 degrees and then it'll automatically shut off. So let's just check this out. Turn the pump on also. I always recirculate when I'm heating up. There you go, 72. Turned off. Like I said, I'll recirculate. Now if you see here, it already says 74. So I typically have my sparge water at 168 degrees, and what happens is you set it to like 165, it kicks off and it ends up rising a couple degrees, 3-4 degrees. So I always set it a few degrees below. That's one way to handle that. So that's the system in a nutshell. Same thing with the match gun. I batch sparge here on this system. I do have an auto sparge by Blickman. I haven't hooked it up. It's brand new. You could easily put that in, no problem. But when I batch sparge, what I do is I'm mashing here, I'm recirculating, I take my first runnings, whatever, and then what I do is, all I do is take this lid and I bring it over to the boil kettle. Put it, hang on a second. There you go. I put it in, that tube in there so the hot bag catches everything. Bada bing, bada boom. Turn on the pump, and what it's going to do is it's going to take everything out of here, bring it up into here, into the boil kettle. Make sure your boil kettle valve is closed first. Okay. Then once that drains out, then what I do is I take this, put that over there. Then I pump everything out of the sparge ton, brings it over into here, fill it up. Then I run the left pump and bring everything over here until I achieve my volume that I need. So that's that. Very simple. You saw how the pump operated. I'll show you again. Left pump is off, right pump is on. There's about 7 gallons in here right now. I don't think you can see the water line there, but it pumps pretty quick. I mean, that's flowing. That's pretty quick though. Now with these love switches here, same thing. You set it to 154 to mash. When it hits 154, it's going to turn off. When it drops to 153, it'll turn back on. When it hits 154, it'll turn back off. So typically, if you have a nice even heat, if you stir constantly for the first few minutes in your mash, and you get that heat evenly distributed, it'll turn on. It'll probably kick on, depending on how cold out it is outside. Maybe in the wintertime, it'll turn on like 5 times in 60 minutes. There you go, you can hear that just finished up. So that pumped 7 gallons over to the mash tun very quickly. But yeah, it'll kick on a few times in the winter. In the summertime, it might kick on once, if that. Alright, so that's the system that we have. I'm throwing all this in. Everything that you see on this stand you get all the tubing, control panel, propane tank, regulator. I got some tubing back here, some extra tubing. What I do is I use my garden hose on the chiller, and I'll bring it down from boiling. Right when I turn off the boil kettle, 212 degrees, I'll use my groundwater, go through this until I get it down to about 120, probably 110 degrees, sometimes even 100 or 90. And then what I do is I fill up this empty sparge tank, because it's empty at that point by the time I'm done my boil. I'll fill that up with maybe like 2 gallons of water and then an 8-pound bag of ice. Get that ice cold water, and then I recirculate water from here through the chiller, and really get it down from like 100 degrees or 90 degrees down to 70 in just a few minutes. Otherwise, your groundwater, if your groundwater is 55 degrees, or in the summertime it's probably 65 degrees, maybe even 70, you're really fighting it and you're just wasting so much water trying to chill it down in those last couple degrees. So what else do we have here? Here's the Ranco controller. It's on the wall. It's not plugged in right now, but it's just sitting there. You can have that. We also have the barley crusher, malt mill, grain mill. You can have that. I got the handle. I use a drill, but I do have the regular manual handle. Let's see. The chest freezer we're keeping, but you got 2 carboys, 2 6.5 gallon glass carboys, marked and labeled for the volumes there. The 5 gallon secondary carboys. I got a 2 milliliter flask and a stir plate with a stir bar. Got some star sand. I got probably about 3 pounds of PBW in there. I also have some iodophor up there. I got 4 corny kegs, so you can have 4 corny kegs. Here's one right here. Trying to get some light on the inside. This thing is, there's a little bit of water in there. I rinsed it out, but this thing is in perfect shape. I don't even know if you can really see, but that thing is clean. 2 of my 4 corny kegs hold pressure perfectly. The other 2 I haven't really used because these 2 work perfectly, and I have a kegerator that only holds two kegs at a time. So I got a bunch of grain. I got 4 of these. I got 2 in here and 2 in another room. They're actually considered dog food storage containers. I have 4 of them filled with grain. This one right here, there's probably about 35 pounds of 2-row. I have one buried over here. You can barely see it. That's got about 30 pounds of Maris Otter. I have another one that's filled with 50 pounds of Baird's Pilsner. You can have that. And then I have another one that has a bunch of adjuncts, a couple pounds of chocolate, a couple pounds of Black Patent, a couple pounds of Crystal 15, etc. Oats, all sorts of different stuff in there. So you can have all the grain. You can have the food storage containers. I got 3 of the food storage containers. I'm going to keep one. As you can see here, I got airlocks, whatever. We also have a funnel. So I actually use the pumps from the control panel. I set this up right here because it's got a nice super fine filter right there. You can't even see it. Screen filter. I set this on top of the carboy. I reconfigure the tubing to run through the chiller and then to run through here into the carboy. Okay? So this configuration right here is just for heating up. So you have a perfect circle from the sparge tun through the pump back to the sparge tun. You have a perfect circle from the mash tun through the pump back to the mash tun. And that's the reason why I have quick disconnects on everything, is so you can switch things around when you want to hook up the Therminator to chill, or I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the only configuration. So you keep this and then your chilling configuration. So I got mash paddle. I bought this stainless steel. I put the holes in it myself, pain in the butt, but I think it paid dividends. I got a couple buckets here. It's just a white bucket. 6.5 gallons. You can have that. Got a bottling bucket here with a couple hot bags in there. False bottom. Here's another false bottom. I used to keep this in the boil kettle, but I actually switched over to that kettle screen and the hot bag, and I really like that configuration. But that is the false bottom by Jaybird, and what he does is he welds them that way you can fold them in half to get them in the keg, and then once they're in, you open it up and you got your center hole there for the dip tube. Good false bottoms. Got a couple siphons, carboy brushes, airlocks, dip tubes. Got a spoon. Let's see here. I got a ton of priming sugar. I got some sweet orange peel. I got 2 bottle cappers. I used to keep one, and then I realized, what the heck would happen if I was bottling on a Tuesday night at 10 o'clock, which always seems to be when I do bottle, some bizarre hour of the day. What happens if that breaks on me in the middle of bottling? So I got 2. I got one as a backup here. I got a bunch of caps, a bunch of priming sugar. Let's see here. Oh, look at that. I got CO2 regulator. You can have all this stuff. I don't want it. I got miscellaneous hardware. 4 corny kegs. Here's the auto sparge I was talking about. I never used the Blickman auto sparge. Kind of like, from my understanding, it's kind of like a float in a toilet. And it just pops open, lets it trickle through, closes, pops open, lets it trickle through, etc. So you can have the Blickman auto sparge, caps. Here's the stir plate by thestirstarter.com. It's a good stir plate. Got some extra tubing, all sorts of miscellaneous hardware. So I think that's enough. I'm trying to think of what else I'm missing. I got a collection of brew your own magazines. You can have them too. They got a ton of recipes in there. I think that's pretty much it. I think we're rocking and rolling. It's a sweet system. It is set up, ready to go. I hope you like it. And if you want to come by and check it out, shoot me a PM or just reply and give you my phone number or my email, whatever you want, and we'll set things up. So thanks a lot for checking this out, and hope you enjoy. Talk to you soon.